And this photo that you see up includes some people in my community at Social Justice Partners Los Angeles, or SJPLA for short. Um, Together, we connect and invest and expand communities who are advancing racial and social justice in Los Angeles. We really envision a region where everyone in LA feels a really deep sense of connectedness and belonging and purpose, and can see very clearly the history of and the systems of injustice in LA, and that we can work together to redistribute wealth and power so that we could create a more loving and liberated Los Angeles. So community is at the heart of everything that we do. We work together to move resources and power to justice work through trainings, peer learning, healing spaces. And some of our values are interconnectedness, systems change, and following leaders with lived experience and shifting power. And one way that shows up is in our Systems Change Fellowship, which is what you're here to learn more about today. This cute picture are the current fellows minus one of our fellows. Um, as the program lead, I'll be sharing some info about the fellowship, and I'm super stoked that we have a current fellow here as well, Latoya Cooper from LA Emissary, who is gonna graciously share her experience and answer any questions that you may have. But in a nutshell, this is a 9-month program uniting LA nonprofit systems change leaders who have lived experience of the issues that they're tackling, and really bringing them together to collaborate across justice movements. A lot of times, things are seen as very siloed or separate from each other, but really trying to bring people together. And at the culmination, at end of this 9-month fellowship, is a public storytelling event we call Story of Us LA, which is happening next week, right? Next Thursday. Yeah, so we hope to share some details with you in the chat if you're interested to come check us out. Um, so I wanted to go through what that arc of the 9 months in the fellowship is. We like to think of the fellowship in 3 different phases. In this first phase, the fellowship starts with 4 monthly sessions from September to December, where the fellows really deepen connections with each other and explore a liberatory culture. Um, in phase two in January, the fellows explore what it will take to continue to resource their systems change work sustainability, and what are the community partnerships that it'll take it to get there. That phase we call resourcing for sustainability. And then in this final phase, fellows meet a little more regularly. It's called Story of Us LA. Fellows embark upon a 10-week communications training to develop a 3-minute story of their personal connection to their work. Each fellow is paired with some coaches who are partners, volunteers, alum of the program, and they support the fellows in shaping their story. And then these stories are shared at our annual event, Story Bus LA, which is coming up May 7th. If you want to pop by. Um, so just a quick rundown, because you're probably here being like, okay, well, what is it going to take on my end? So there is no cost to submit an eligibility form or participate. So the investment on fellows' behalf is really about the fellows' precious time and energy and presence with one another and with us in the program, of which there's a lot. So the interconnectedness and the magic of this program can't happen without the fellows there. So we do ask that fellows attend all sessions. So anyone interested in applying should look at the full list of dates, which can be found on our website, and Patron is going to pop in the chat to make sure that you all can commit to that. But the outcome or the benefits of the fellowship, some of them which include a 10K unrestricted grant, which goes to your 501c3 organization or fiscal sponsor, as well as a 3-minute story that you can share beyond the life of the program. And of course, an awesome community of values aligned folks that you can stay connected with even upon culmination. But you probably, rather than hear from me as a program lead, want to hear from a current fellow. So I wanted to introduce Latoya from LA Emissary onto the virtual stage. Latoya, thanks for being down to come here and share your experience. And you are culminating soon from the fellowship. The Story Bus LA events next week. You're culminating the week after that. Um, and we'll have more of a Q&A later for anyone who has questions for Latoya. But for now, I'd love if you would be down to share just more about your fellowship experience for these folks who are thinking about applying.
Um, Thanks, Michelle. And hey everybody. I'm a little honored to be on this call today. So, um kind of nervous. I didn't know I was gonna feel any nerves, but I am happy to be here with y'all. I don't know, let's talk about my experience. These last couple of months, I would say they were intense. I'm gonna be very transparent and say that. Because you have to, if you care about the work you do, you're gonna commit to it. So, um, like Michelle was saying, this is a commitment. We meet monthly, and after like the first phase, you start meeting more on like every other week. But when I mean the time was amazing each time, like from start to finish, like when we first got into like our first intro meeting, like the vibes were just on point. I don't know how these amazing people chose the way they chose, but they chose everyone and everyone fit. Like we just all fit and it just was like a perfect puzzle. And I honestly am so grateful to just meet so many different people from different walks of life, but also from different like um social justices and just to see the alignment we all have. um, yeah, very much vibes are always on point. I feel like this is my community now because they like everyone take care of each other. Like it was a lot of care and love in a room. I think everyone was able to ground themselves and like see themselves in each other in a way, no matter where they came from. It was like, oh, dang, I have that in common with you and this common with you. So it's a very intentional space to be in that when you come in here, you're gonna be optimistic about like where it's going. So that's one part of it. But also I think it's like it gets you motivated to do more, to see that it's so many like-minded people around you. These are people who are fighting for all different justices across the area, and they seeing things from a different light. It was so many things. People were worried about banking and the nature, immigration, housing, just so many different social justices that's like if you put it all together, you solving the crimes of the world. Like it's like a super team. And honestly, I just feel like it fits so well with like what we need right now in our economy. So I am always gonna be indebted to social justice partners for even having this opportunity because it was beyond a great opportunity regardless of um what any type of like shaping comes out of it because I think where I'm at now, I'm so nervous. We have this story of us event and like we're such perfectionists. We're like, oh, I want it to be like this and everyone's so apt about like how they're going to get to their story that it's like it's a lot. But for the most part, I can say like you will feel supported. You will feel like seen and valued, taken care of. Like you will feel like this was a great fellowship to be in. You will feel like you're growing. You're gonna learn. You're gonna learn a lot from your peers, but also from like what social justice can provide for you. Um, and yeah, it just was an overall great experience. Like I will have stuff going on personal life, but when I came into that room, it automatically went away because there's so much good energy and positivity just about the hard things. We're already dealing with our social justices, like our hard things to like combat right now. Who wants to talk about being unhoused? Who wants to talk about, ICE? Like who wants to talk about the things that like are sticky for us? But in this space, we're able to talk about that and still feel love. Like, still feel some, grace in the room and not feel so like not feel the negativity that comes from it, if that makes sense. But yeah, I just want to be honest and just like kind of get my perspective so you know what you're signing up for. Um, and I probably had so many like mini anxiety attacks dealing with like just the expectations. And I was like, I'll go to Michelle. Like, I know, let me be clear. Michelle comes to me. Like Michelle reached out to me, like they come up to me in the midst of like the day, like how are you? Just, and really intentionally want to check on me, and like I'm able to get it out in these little 2 minutes, and it's just like that's all I really needed was somebody just to genuinely ask how are you. So you're going to get that. And the 10K is a plus. Like who don't want little funds for their org? So that's always a plus. That's always a benefit. But you get everything that they said. You're gonna get community, you're gonna get a safe space, you're gonna get, different opportunities. And I think this will open a door for other things for you and your org. Because it's starting to do that for us. Like we end up already got like a small partnership with one of the orgs that we're working with. So, and that's for a lot of the fellows. They're like merging right now. They're like, I'm doing this, and hey, we done already went to one of their events. Like you're gonna just meet, you're gonna just build from this. So, I'll stop there, and yeah, that's a little bit of my experience.
Latoya, thank you so much for sharing really honestly. It's been truly a pleasure to have you in the cohort and soon to be alum. So yeah, I would love to share more now that we've talked about what the opportunity is in this fellowship, about the application process. And Petro, you gotta let me know if things are not showing, but I think y'all can see it and things are good. All right. So we think of this application process in three stages. So right now, eligibility forms are open. So these eligibility forms are designed to hopefully be quick, like 20 or less minutes is what we're hoping for. It's about 18 questions. Only four of them are open-ended. The rest are, name, org name, are you a 501(c)(3), kind of straightforward answers. And the eligibility forms are due May 13th. We have a review committee of program alum, social impact staff, values aligned volunteers who read through these eligibility forms, and then discuss who to invite to the applicant workshop. So for those folks who are invited to the applicant workshop, this is an interactive simulating the fellowship's collaborative environment. Applicants will meet one another as well as the review committee who will be present there. And we'll facilitate some exercises. And we have two workshop dates available. So anyone who's invited is only asked to go to one of those workshops. And then after the workshop, review committee comes together again, and then has the hard job of thinking about who to invite to the fellowship. And any and all invitations will be sent by July 29th. So if you're ever not sure where you are in the process, we try to be very responsive and respectful of y'all's time. And then the fellowship starts in September. So that's the kind of three-stage process. And I'll also go through what the eligibility criteria is. So we think of eligibility criteria for the org or for this initiative that you're applying with, as well as for yourself as an applicant. So on the org side, to be eligible should be a nonprofit org. So must have a designation as from the IRS as a 501(c)(3) or have proof of a fiscal sponsor who is a 501(c)(3). This is also an LA-based program, so we have a strong preference for LA-based orgs. If you are part of a national org or are headquartered elsewhere, you're still invited to apply. Just let us know how your program significantly impacts LA County. Um, and know that fellows are expected to go to in-person sessions in Los Angeles. And then the last criteria on kind of the org side is it being early stage systems change focused work. And I have more slides going into this later, since this is where we get a lot of questions. But in short, the initiative must have a systems change focus. And it's helpful to think of that in contrast to perhaps a direct service focus. Direct services often provide much needed individual support, such as like temporary or permanent housing or mentoring, training, or food banks. And for the focus of this fellowship, we're seeking leaders of systems change initiatives, which are addressing root causes of injustice by engaging folks across the system to shift power, to shift policy, to change narrative, and shift mindsets. And again, I will share more about this, and this is where we get a lot of questions. So that's the org eligibility side. And then for eligibility as an applicant yourself, we're looking for folks who have the appropriate responsibility for the initiative. So the person participating in the fellowship on behalf of their org usually holds a title of like executive director or the program director for that systems change initiative, or an equivalent kind of position where they have significant decision-making responsibility over that systems change work or over the whole org. And that person should have at least 6 months of tenure within the organization. And as I mentioned, the participants really should work or live in LA County in order to utilize the coaching resources we have and be able to attend the sessions that we have that are a majority in person. Some of them are virtual. And then another criteria as an applicant that review committee is looking for in these eligibility forms is having direct lived experience of the issue it is that you're tackling. So this fellowship, as you heard from Latoya, is not issue specific. We have fellows of system change initiatives across various issues, whether that be education, criminal justice, homelessness, grief support, immigration. So we are looking to applicants to define and tell us their relationship to the system that you're seeking to transform. So for example, we define direct live experience of homelessness as someone who has been unhoused themselves, unsheltered, or who may have experienced a lack of stable, safe, and adequate housing themselves. So that would be direct life experience. And then the last eligibility criteria per applicant is that you can attend all the sessions. So availability to be there for the fellowship and show up for each other and for this program. So that's a bit about the eligibility criteria. I'm gonna invite you to inhale and exhale with me. Okay. So I mentioned the eligibility forms are live, available, due May 13th. 18 questions, most of them pretty straightforward, but here, just so you know, are the 4 open-ended questions that we have. And there is no strict word or character count. Be mindful that we're a review committee who is reading through all of this, but we don't want to waste your time trying to think about how to fit insert certain characters. But we have some guidance as to, we say maybe in a few words or in a 1 to few sentences. And if you honor that, that helps us as we're reviewing eligibility forms, but don't stress too much about it. Let us know about your work. So these are the open-ended questions. In a few words, no more than a sentence, name the system you seek to change. In 1 to few sentences, describe the work that you're doing to change the system that you named. If we observed this work for a week, what activities would we see you doing? And then also describe in 1 sentence how LA County is different if your initiative is successful. So these first 3 open-ended questions are really for the review committee to help understand what is the nature of your work and how are you engaging in changing the system. And then this last open-ended question is for the review committee to understand if you have direct life experience of the issue And the question is, describe in 1 to 2 sentences what direct life experience you share with the people who are most impacted by the issue that you seek to solve. So these are the open-ended questions that we have on the eligibility form. And again, we're hoping uh, it's not too much of a labor lift and hopefully it takes no more than 20 minutes. Feel free to pop it up right now as we're talking. You're spending the time here in the info session, so why not fill it out? We often get asked about what we mean by systems change, and this is something that a review committee is also grappling with and looking at eligibility forms. So just really wanted to be clear about how we define that. And we acknowledge that there are different ways to describe and define systems change, and this is how we do so. So when we're saying a system or asking, applicants to name the system, we'll define that as like related elements such as organizations and policies that function as a whole. So for example, the K through 12 education system, the criminal justice system, and so on and so forth. And when we talk about systems change, we're talking about work that addresses the root causes of injustice by engaging people across the system to really shift power and policy and mindsets, and the things that are holding this problem in place. So systems change work acknowledges the complex history of the problem and really looks to improve lives of the people who are most impacted by this issue for the long term so that they don't have to be as dependent on these really life-saving services that are provided as well. Our definition of systems change is really heavily influenced by FSG's Water of Systems Change, which we can put in the chat if you would like to see, and then also Marina Kim's Rethinking the Impact Spectrum. So to understand systems change, it's really helpful to look at it alongside its counterpart in social impact, direct service. Most of us in the room are really familiar with direct service. So when we're talking about direct service, we're talking about the food banks that feed hungry families today, the counselors that are helping a student through a really pressing crisis, or a legal aid lawyer representing a client in court. It's really vital work and it alleviates the immediate suffering and serves individuals within usually a pretty defined time frame. So there's kind of a closed loop as to when you see that service has been completed. And in many ways, it's the relief that people rely on to survive, especially the current reality that we're living in today. So it's kind of seen as maybe treating the symptoms of an underlying problem. And in contrast for systems change, which works together with direct service, is about curing the disease, if we're using that analogy. It aims to address the underlying core causes that create the need for that service in the first place. So maybe instead of helping someone navigate a broken system, a systems change seeks to fix the system itself. So whether that's through policy reform, community organizing, shifting how people think about the issue, and the goal of systems change is to create community shifts that eventually make our services unneeded. So it would be the difference between maybe building more shelters and then changing the laws to ensure everyone has access to affordable housing in the first place, so that hopefully at some point there won't be a need for the shelters. We need both direct services and systems change. You can't have long-term progress without the immediate care that's provided by direct service. And you can't have a just society if we never address the root causes. But for this fellowship, we're here to uplift and invest in systems change and looking for leaders of work that is like shifting power and fundamentally changing the ecosystem so that the problems we're grappling with today don't exist in perpetuity for generations of tomorrow. Um, so now that we've talked about that, I wanted to share more about how we define systems change for this fellowship. So as I mentioned, we've borrowed and adapted the framework from FSG's Water Systems Change, which I think my colleague shared in the chat already. And we define systems change as shifting power and policy and mindsets, such as what you see here on this slide. If you see it here, kind of like an inverted triangle organized into 3 layers. which is matching the framework that we shared from FSG. And we've just kind of re-articulated it just for simplicity. So at this top is policy, and that's the most visible part of this triangle. So we're broadly calling policy. FSG calls this structural change. That's explicit, or policy and practices, resource flows. But these are the written and unwritten rules or habits of the system. So we're really excited about work that shifts these rules, whether that be like local budgets or internal office procedures or of a local agency. So if this is your work in the eligibility form, like name that specific policy that you're working on, or the practice that you're changing, or the resource that you're trying to reallocate. On this middle level is what we call power here. FSG calls this relational change or like relationships, connections, power dynamics. This is really about the relationship between those who are most impacted and those with decision-making influence. Um, so at this level, systems change looks like shifting the who, like who's in the room, who has the final say, who has the decision-making power. So we're looking for work that empowers communities to influence the decisions that affect their daily lives and have them be in that room. So if this is part of your work in the eligibility forum, tell us like about who you're bringing together, how you're bringing them together, and how the work is shifting their influence and their power. And finally, the deepest layer here is mindsets. FSG calls this mental models or transformative change. These are the underlying beliefs and prejudices and the narratives that keep the rules and the power and the structure in place. So if this is your work, tell us what narrative you're shifting and how you're doing that. Um, if we change a policy here at this top layer, but don't change the underlying mindset, the system will eventually find a way to revert to its old habits. So it takes work on all layers to sustain systems change, and that doesn't have to happen just in one org, whether that be the work in one org or work across multiple organizations to change a system. That's what we love about this fellowship is it's bringing people together across different movements to work towards a more liberated LA. Um, and I know it's helpful to have some examples, so I wanted to uplift some from some alum and some of our current fellows, so soon to be alum, and just to how they've done this. So on the policy level, Godfrey Plata, who's alum from 2324, and the team at LA Forward, they're building a grassroots movement necessary to put a more democratic and functional city council structure in front of voters. Our current fellow, Trinity Tran, comes here and the rest of the fellows next week, May 7th. And the team at California Public Banking Alliance, they're advocating for city and region-owned public banks that invest in community instead of extracting from them. On the power realm, Florence Adjoa Anang and the team at Pasadena's Organizing for Progress, they're building people power and raising organizers from within their community to address injustices in Pasadena through advocacy and also taking seats of power in the city. Cool. Like they were able to elect the first wage enforcer for Pasadena, which is great. You met Latoya Cooper from the team at LA Emissary, and they're building youth power to prevent and end youth homelessness. They empower 60 plus young adults to power share with system leaders on LA's county's priorities, among other work that they do. And on the mindsets kind of layer, Amita and the team at Mirror Memoirs, they're intervening in rape culture by uplifting the narratives and the healing and the leadership of trans and queer people of color who have survived child sexual abuse. And current fellow Mariah Castaneda and the team at LA Public Press. They're building news for LA people, by LA people. They interrogate systems of power while they're supporting folks who are trying to build more equitable and resilient communities. So hopefully those examples are kind of helpful in addressing what I anticipate maybe are what are a lot of the questions. And I wanted to share these impacts of different orgs who have gone through the Systems Change Fellowship program. And you'll see a snapshot of what happens when we work together to transform systems. Over the past 8 cohorts, we've been had the honor of supporting 88 fellows and their initiatives as they've advocated for and won different policy shifts and really transformative change. But I also want to be clear that no single win on this screen like happened in a vacuum. It takes more than one org or one fellowship or one leader to build the LA that we want to see. And we know that systems change is a long game. It's slow, it's complex. It requires a specific kind of investment and stamina. So we don't celebrate these impacts just like as isolated victories, but as proof that the ecosystem is shifting, and we're just proud to play a part in nurturing this work. And we're even more excited to see how you all play an important part in that change. That we want to see in LA and are so happy that you're down and interested to learn more about this opportunity. So that's the overview I have for y'all. Um, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and bring down the slides and enable folks who want to come on camera or come off mute if you have any questions for our guest fellow Latoya, for myself. Um, and also our colleague Patrona is here, who is also a fellowship alum too. Um, and yeah, just know we are recording the Q&A session as well. We wanted to open it up. What questions might you have for Latoya or myself as JPLA team?
Hi, this is Frances Saunders from California Black Women's Health Project, and
Oh,
we are not
yay!
able, to um, go on video. Oh, now we can. Okay, great. Thank you. And I know Sonia Young Adam had done it maybe the year before,
Mhm.
and to help us with our Alzheimer's work. So that was really beautiful to see that process. And my question is, how many fellows, maybe you all said that and I missed it, how many fellows you expect to accept into the group? And
Oh, yeah.
I already filled out my form, and now I'm thinking maybe I should go back and put more detail into it because it was really very easy to do.
Yeah.
But my question is, how many fellows?
Yes. Oh my God. Good question. Sorry, I might have failed to say that. We're looking for up to 10 fellows. And yeah. And if you want to submit another eligibility form, you're welcome to. Just also feel free to email me and be like, disregard this other one and submit the other one. That's okay. And yes, definitely remember Sonia um, and the Alzheimer's work. So I was happy to see an application from a returning org, which does happen. We do welcome that, so long as it's a different systems change initiative within the org and a different fellow as well. So, or a different applicant. Ooh, I see a question in the chat. Is an annual fellowship and offered next year as well? So yeah, this would be the ninth cohort. Yeah, this will be the ninth cohort. So we have offered the fellowship for 9 years, and it is our hope to continue to offer it in the following year as well. Jamal, I see your hand.
Hi, my name is Jamal Hussain from TENA. We're an org focused on eradicating health disparities through resource sharing and healthcare workforce development. Thank you so much for this presentation. My question's a little more general. Just thinking about the fellows that graduated, can you guys
Mhm.
share stories of how they partnered together to accomplish any of their goals or shared goals? As we think about systems, they're very large and difficult to change. I'm just wondering if you've seen fellows partner up with each other, or if you guys helped even them have partnerships outside that tap into you guys' network.
Oh, okay. I love it. Good question. I'll share one, and then I will invite if Latoya wanted to add anything about the current fellows and or Patrona. Patrona, I know you were good about collaborating with fellows. So some of our alum from or the orgs, ACT LA, LA Forward, and LA Los Angeles Walks. They worked together to help launch and lead Healthy LA, which is a coalition that push to LA City Council and county supervisors to enact over 20 protections for tenants and workers and small business owners and immigrants who were disproportionately impacted by COVID-19. So that's one I know that is an impact that we celebrate. And Latoya, did you want to share any other collaborations might be in the works? Maybe it's early
Yeah,
phases, not yet happening.
so we are currently working, figuring out the logistics on how to work with one of the fellows. Her name is Megan. She is from an organization called La Defensa. They work on like our budgets, like our county budgets, and just like making sure like money is being allocated to the community for the community. And since we do a lot of system work, we feel like that's like viable information for us, but also for our young people as we do advocacy. So we're trying to figure out like, some trainings and education that they can give us and kind of start, just allowing young people to frame their minds around like the money that supports them in their community. So that's just an example.
Thanks, Latoya. And thanks for the question. I see Alexis.
Hi, thank you for calling me. My name is Alexis Romo. I'm the executive director at Black Thumb Farm. We are a nonprofit urban farm in the San Fernando Valley, and we focus on empowering youth and community through farming and gardening and BIPOC-centered practices. Um, I had a question for Latoya about um, kind of like juggling this fellowship alongside the full-time work you do, which is I think everyone here does full-time work that can be a bit taxing and heavy at times, and also how you found this fellowship like helpful and supportive in the work you were doing in real time since you're doing it in real time. I kind of want to see like how does this support what you're already doing while you're doing.
Latoya, do you have any thoughts on how you've been able to balance the fellowship with the full-time work that you do, being a mom, and everything else in life?
That's good to hear too. I've got 3 kids, so that's great. I love. Please throw that in there.
So so when I applied for this, my director actually encouraged me to apply. And when I got it, we sat down and just talked about my role and incorporated this as part of my time. So, like I had this on like both of our calendars, like from the start to finish. Like every meeting we had, um, I had it on our calendar. So therefore, she knew like Wednesdays at this time she's not available. Like and it was okay because I'm doing this on the behalf of an org. So, that was one thing, just replacing the time in your workload. And um, I have another colleague who kind of picked up where I slacked in cases of like our emissary work. Um, when it comes to like balancing, I am not going to say I'm the best with balancing, because I'm in school, I work, a mom, I'm a busy bee. But I think for me, it's just about like, what can I put, what can I put to later and focus like when I'm here at social justice, like when I'm in person, I'm tuning the world out. Like, I'm like, of course my phone's on loud just in case anything happens with the kids, but like I'm not gonna worry about my job and anything else when I'm in here because this time is like crucial and it's only this amount of time we get per month. So I kind of locked in about it, and then like everything else I push back, then I'll come back and be like, okay, even right now, we've been practicing our pitches. Like, I have to schedule time in on when I can really practice and use that time to practice. And like, I kind of gave up a couple of weekends, like, and not even full weekends, but just some hours out of my weekend. And it's really just about what you want to balance. So that's why I said, like, it's a commitment. It is a commitment. You have to be ready for it. Your job, if you're not like a person who could make that decision on capacity, then you will want to talk to like your director, your executive director, CEO, whoever is like above you, if you have someone above you, to say, how can I do this, but also keep the work going? And it may be the same thing. You just replace the time. Because it's also professional development. So therefore you're also like gaining skills from this. So it's like it's beneficial in the long run. But those are the type of things that we had to do when it came to this, and um they were very flexible with like virtual meetings versus in person, and like all of them were in person, so that was a big plus for me and having children and trying to work out my schedule sometimes. So all good things.
Thank you for the question. Thanks, Latoya, for sharing more. Carlton.
Hi, my name is Carlton, pronouns he, him, his. I'm the director of harm reduction here at the People Concern. And first, thank you all so much for, this presentation and providing us this opportunity to, really focus on the work that we're doing. Thank you so much, Latoya. Thank you, Michelle. My question is about the eligibility requirement for organizational. There says that there's an initiative, the initiative or organization must be in the early stages of growth and development. What actually constitutes as early stages?
Thank you, Carlton. I realized I forgot to mention that part when I was talking about it. So for early stage is also something that we look to the fellow and the applicant to define what that is for them. We don't have like a minimum, maximum like specific time frame in terms of how many months or years. We do ask though that it have some proof of concept that it's working. So not that it's so new that there hasn't been anything tested or we haven't seen how it works. Um, but yeah, early stage enough that there's proof of concept and also there's room to grow and spreading exposure about the work and getting people involved in the work. So thank you for asking, Carlton.
Yeah, no
I was like,
problem. Thank
oops.
you.
I think I see a question in the chat. Can multiple people from the same org apply for the fellowship? Yes, for different cohorts and different years. Um, yes, multiple people can apply from the same org for the fellowship. It is probably not likely that we would accept two people from the same org in 1 year of a cohort, but there's no explicit rule about that. It definitely would have to be different scope of work that's being done. But yeah, we have had for example, LA Forward is an org who we've had fellows in different years from that same org focusing on different work. So I hope that answers the question, Grace.
Michelle, someone asked in the chat if you could tell us more about the role of a fiscal sponsor.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. So, for the purpose of this fellowship, in order to apply, the org would either need to have a 501(c)(3) themselves, or sometimes, if an org has not become their own 501(c)(3), they have a fiscal sponsor, for example, like community partners, who they're working under their umbrella and using their 501(c)(3) status to be a project of that organization. So that fiscal sponsor is essentially taking on the uh, responsibility, liability. Sometimes they provide other supports like um, capacity building. But yeah, some actually we have a lot of fellows this year who maybe they're not their own 501(c)(3), but they are fiscally sponsored by a different organization and using their 501(c)(3) status. Savannah.
Hi, thank you. And thank you for hosting this session today. It's been very informative. I'd be on camera, but I'm recovering from a surgery. My question is for Latoya. I was wondering what was the most impactful part of the program for you, and what areas fellows can hope to grow in. I know that communication skills were mentioned, but is there anything else you can share outside of that?
Oh,
I think the just strategize, and thank you for the question. I think the strategizing part is super impactful for me. Because we get a chance to like just talk about like where like in the midst of learning each other and like relationship building, you get to hear about different mechanisms like your fellows are using to like combat their justice issues. So, like some people have like different types of advocacy like methods, and some people like, it's just like I don't know, I feel like that whole relationship building part was the most impactful. Like
Oh.
but knowing that we had a fellow who writes about social justice issues and who can like take our stories and put it into a platform was like beneficial. Knowing that like me, I work on, youth being unhoused. Knowing that I can like partner up with someone who works in the workforce field. Like, they help employ people when it's a different way to say it, but basically like they help retain people, allow people to retain their jobs. And then it's like, education wise, like, we work with young people, so how young people are, getting a second chance at education, and not just a typical education, but like I forget the name, how to say it, but it's like oh gosh. Javier's. What is this called?
CPSS, Center for Powerful Public Schools.
Okay, Center for Power School. It's like another type of education, but more intentional. But like seeing all these different programmings as someone who work with young people, my lights are going off in my head. Like, oh my gosh, I know a young person who could benefit from this. I know, like, young people who could benefit from this. Like, I'm seeing that what I do and what they do align, and I'm figuring out how I can connect with them. I think that was the most impactful for me, because it's just like, how do we help our community? How do we, support our community? And it's beneficial for your organization, but it's also beneficial for the people that you serve. So I think that was the biggest thing for me, is just knowing like it's so many like-minded people here that I know that if I run into somebody who needs this service, I know exactly who to call. Like, I have that direct connect now. And even with like it's an organization called Pause. This is like a organization that focuses on grief and like how do you grieve, like, and just every step of healthy grieving. And I didn't even know that I needed that, like I needed that type of training. So I'm looking into like, how do I get that into our org, like, because people lose people every day, people lose opportunities every day, you grieve so many different things on an everyday basis. How do we deal with it and still like, focus on having a healthy mental status? So yeah, things like that.
Mm. Thank you. Laura, I see you have a question.
Hi, everyone. Yes, my name is Laura Cuellar Morish, and I'm a board member for Kid City, Hope Place. Our mission is to activate the innate potential of young people in South and Central Los Angeles through holistic youth development programs, including college access, career success, and music and the arts. And we hope to cultivate a community of self-empowered leaders that give back to the LA County community. And actually, one of our alumni is Patrona, so shout out to her. So I had a quick question. Are board members allowed to apply to the fellowship? And if so, and then secondly, if we've applied before, can we apply again if it's for a different program?
Okay. So if it is a returning org, it should be a different initiative and a different person than represented the org previously. So the scope of work um, uh, previously for Kid City that Patrona presented on, it should be a different initiative. There is nothing that precludes a board member from applying, and we're looking for folks who have appropriate responsibility over that systems change work. So are they the person who has that decision-making responsibility over that that work and how it's done in the organization? as well as does that person have the support from their org to spend a really meaningful amount of time participating in the fellowship sessions and completing, work between sessions, and does that person have the support of the org to be a really visible representative of the org and share their personal story, and share the story of the work really publicly. So that's kind of the guidance we offer. Do they have enough decision-making responsibility over the systems change work and have the support of the org to represent them? So that's what I have to offer for you. And we always say, like, if you're not sure, definitely have those conversations with the org, but also don't self-select out. We hope the eligibility form doesn't take long, so it's probably better to err on the side of just, if you're excited about the opportunity, submit a form, and yeah, we'll see.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you. All right, so we have about 2 minutes left. If y'all feel good with questions, you're welcome to go. You don't need to wait for me to end talking. Um, but I do see another question in the chat, so I will read that. If we applied last year with the specific initiative but did not get the fellowship, is it okay to reapply with the same initiative this year? Yes, it is. There are some fellows who have applied with the same initiative multiple times, and then maybe after the third time or the second time they were able to get in. It's just a matter of like sometimes like how many forms we receive. So it might not have been something related to your work. It might have just been other things, forces in the world that you don't have control over. So folks are welcome to reapply as much as they wish, so long as they're not an alum who's already been in the program or a program that's already been represented through the fellowship. Okay. Okay, friends. I think we've reached our time. I don't see any other questions. So we will end it here. Thank you so much for being interested in the opportunity. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out via email. The eligibility forms are due May 13th. So our ultimate thing is, if you're excited about the opportunity, just submit an eligibility form. Let's see. Let's be in conversation. And I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day. And I will stick around if anyone wants to be unrecorded, have any questions, but feel free to head out. Thank you all so much.